I'm feeling like the man of the hour.
The Petro-Canada that will be analysed is a single site in North Bay, Ontario. The gas station is one of the last full-service stations left in the city and has customers of all ages, but there is definitely more clientele in the 40 to 90 age cohort. The organization itself is made up of the owner, one manager, 6 employees in the gas bar, and 2 mechanics in the garage bays. The 3 organizational behavior concepts I will be talking about are conflict, organizational culture, and leadership. Conflict can be defined as a process that begins when one party perceives that another party has negatively affected or is about to negatively affect something that the first party cares about. Whereas organizational culture can be defined as a system of shared meaning held by members that distinguishes the organization from other organizations. Lastly, leadership can be defined as the ability to influence a group toward the achievement of a vision or set of goals. The main forms of conflicts that arise in this workplace are relationship conflicts, which is tied in with dysfunctional conflict because it affected the group performance in the organization. Due to the relatively small size of this organization, conflicts are typically dyadic because they occur between 2 people. After working in the organization, it was clear to me that the majority of conflicts occurred because of misunderstandings and selective perception by the receivers, which resulted in them only hearing some of what was being said. Problem solving and compromising are also the methods that have worked best within this organization. This was evident in one situation in which an employee believed that another was critiquing their work and reporting this to the manager because they heard it from another employee. It turns out that it was a mystery shopper that reported this, and the manager sat down with both employees and used a problem-solving approach by exposing that the problem that caused tension in the workplace was in fact not caused by this employee, but the mystery shopper. This effectively solved the problem, and the conflict was gone. Within days of working in Petro-Canada, the organizational culture was a part of me. The primary characteristic of the organization is attention to detail when doing work because it relies so heavily on customer service. Every time a customer walks in, we have to be on our A game and fully engaged in making a positive customer experience. The other characteristic is stability. Due to the small size of this organization, it does not have an aggressive approach to growth. The way business is done has not changed greatly aside from technology used since being taken over in 1990. Next, an artifact is that employees in the gas bar have a different uniform than employees in the garage bay due to the difference in job duties. Also, beliefs are similar across the organization because the employees are all close and all have similar understandings of how objects and ideas relate to the organization. Lastly, values include integrity, respect for the environment, and striving for excellence in daily work duties. Transmission of culture in the organization begins right from the selection stage of employees. Employees are chosen based on their work ethic and whether the owner believes they will align with the culture in the workplace. From here, the owner makes sure to have a strong manager in place to assist employees in transitioning into the workplace and applies the socialization aspect by having a week-long training program to prepare new employees for the workplace. The last area I wanted to look at was leadership. The owner has a very authentic leadership style. This is because they know who they are, what they believe in and value, and act on those values and beliefs. There are countless examples of the owner of this organization acting in this style. Some include purchasing the manager a brand new vehicle when theirs broke down and couldn't afford a new one because he believed that she deserved and needed this transportation. Another time, driving an employee who was working directly to the hospital when their mother was driven there due to a medical emergency. And lastly, completely closing down a site during a snowstorm because he was concerned about the employee's safety in getting there. The owner is very open with information and encourages communications between the manager and employees should there be concerns. This is also an example of how he is an employee-oriented leader because he emphasizes strong interpersonal relationships within the organization. In conclusion, looking at the 3 areas of the organization analyzed, the areas of leadership are clearly a strong one. The ability of the owner to develop a strong bond with each individual employee and act in a way that takes others into consideration is truly an admirable way of leadership. Moving to organizational culture, Although it is effective, there are areas that could be improved upon. I would strongly recommend that there be some sort of monthly employee meeting to recognize star employees and show appreciation for the work they are doing. This would portray an encouraging work culture in which effort and results are recognized. Lastly, the approach to conflict resolution is effective as it is, but after sitting down with the owner, I recommended he apply the following. Instead of him requesting both employees sit down with him, I recommended that he encourage them to solve it themselves. This way, it does not make employees feel that they are being forced to resolve conflicts then and there in front of him. In doing this, the employees will develop conflict resolution skills themselves without needing him to be there. The McDonald's that will be analyzed is located in North Bay, Ontario. This location is always busy and pumps out a lot of volume each hour. The organization itself is made up of roughly 4 supervisors located in food prep, drive-thru, counter, and upkeep of the kitchen and seating areas. Also, there are 3 managers and 30 employees that are a mix of full-time and part-time employees. Because the organization is large, functional conflict that hinders group performance is the most often conflict to occur. The different groups in McDonald's includes food prep, drive-thru, counter, and cleaners. An example of conflict is that during busy times of the day, it would get very hectic in the kitchen. More than once, collisions would happen and orders would be dropped, and this would cause orders to back up because we would have to redo the order and then send it out. This causes great stress on each group, and there is lots of talking across the kitchen at different groups to either speed up what they are doing or just to improve their work. This caused tension between groups because some groups felt the work they were doing was harder than the drive-thru group, who only had to take orders and cash people out. The main way of approaching this conflict was through ignoring and minimizing the importance of the issues creating the conflict. Because these were nearly a weekly occurrence, it was difficult to constantly resolve these conflicts. Once the busy time would subside, the stress would as well, and almost always the workplace went back to a calm and neutral place. The organizational culture of McDonald's is one of the more interesting areas. The culture of McDonald's is an attention to detail focus, team orientation, and outcome orientation. The culture is not very aggressive or stable because everyone is typically supportive of one another, and McDonald's is constantly looking to grow and increase its market share within the city. Employees are expected from day one to complete work with precision and efficiency. Looking at the team orientation aspect, teams in the kitchen are heavily emphasized. Every employee has to work together to be quick and efficient in completing various tasks. This requires a lot of communication among employees. Lastly, management is heavily focused on results and outcomes and keeps track during each shift. An example of this is that when an order comes on the screen in the kitchen, there is a timer that starts counting down beside it. This is the time that we have until the order must be in the hands of the customer. The artifacts in McDonald's is that employees in the kitchen that are in the supervisor position wear black aprons with their name stitched into it, whereas the regular cooks just wear regular uniforms. Moving to values in McDonald's, they include integrity, striving for excellence in our daily duties, teamwork, and respect for customers, employees, and suppliers that deliver product. In addition, McDonald's culture has a heavy focus on people centricity, individual learning, organizational learning, and diversity and inclusion. Moving to transmission of culture, it begins right at the interview stage. From there, before you even step into the kitchen, there are video training modules that train you on their core values and beliefs, daily duties you will complete, and how you will fit into the organization. From this training stage, you get to experience this culture in real time when you are put into the kitchen. Lastly, each month, an employee is recognized who is a star employee that month in their work. These prove that McDonald's does a phenomenal job at transmitting their culture to all of their employees, and is why they have a very strong culture. The final area of McDonald's that I'll be looking at is their leadership. McDonald's leadership style is a transactional and supportive leadership style. Transactional leadership is the most effective because it involves a leader giving clear directions, objectives, and expectations to employees. Moreover, transactional leadership is also effective when employees are unskilled and inexperienced, like the majority of employees in this organization. Also, a supportive leader is another effective method because it attempts to reduce employee stress and frustration in the workplace. An interesting fact about this McDonald's location is that the vision statement is posted in the staff room. This statement is that McDonald's wants to be the world's best quick service restaurant experience. Looking at the three areas of the second organization analyzed, the area of leadership is a very strong one. The ability of McDonald's to develop a strong sense of direction and objectives to each individual employee and support employees who do not have much work experience is what makes this organization one of the best places for people to get their first job experience. Moving to organizational culture, it too is incredibly effective, and there are not any areas that come to mind that could be improved upon. The one area that McDonald's could be improved upon is conflict and the resulting resolution of this conflict. I would strongly recommend that they consider an alternative way to resolve conflict other than simply ignoring it. A way to manage this conflict could be by developing overarching goals. By creating a shared goal that requires groups in the workplace to work together to achieve this goal, it could improve communication and efficiency and reduce the amount of conflicts in the workplace. Conclusions to be learned from this analysis is that in the case of McDonald's, the approach they have in portraying organizational culture is very effective from head office right down to the employee at the front counter. Moreover, their leadership style has been evolving since day one by determining what works and what doesn't, which is why they are so effective now. Lastly, on the areas of conflict, the key message to be taken away is that an organization can be amazing in other areas such as leadership and culture, yet still have conflict internally. Conflict in the workplace is not something they can sweep under the mat, and they need to improve their approach to resolving it. Looking at Petro-Canada, considering it's such a small organization, they are doing very well for themselves. Notably, they are not on the same level as McDonald's in their ability to portray culture. In the areas of leadership style, though, I believe that they are right up there with the strength of leadership McDonald's has. And I would also go as far as saying that when looking at the topic of conflict, Petro-Canada has them beat in their ability to resolve conflicts.